Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. A little bit controversial based on the scoring. What do you think?
Well, let me start by asking you, what do you think is more important, significant strikes or octagon control? Because if you make the argument that...
I think they're not better than each other.
Yeah.
I think you got to define significant strikes and you got to define octagon.
Yeah.
I think the judges aren't to blame. It's the criteria's definitions, because I think they think that octagon time means controlling the center.
Yeah.
And yes, pushing the action's good.
Yeah.
But it gets a little bit confusing with octagon control and things like that, because if you're controlling the center and just walking forwards, then if you're just eating shots, like Sean O'Malley was on the back foot, right? And Chris is taking a huge amount of punishment, but he's constantly taking the center and moving forward. Does he have more octagon control, or is Sean punching his face off? Then if someone's also, let's say Kamaru Usman is pushing someone up, or maybe, let's say Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori is holding Israel Adesanya up against the cage. He's not doing any significant strike. He's just staying there. Izzy's not doing anything either, but it's just stalling the fight. That can't be considered octagon time, because I'm pretty sure I could go up to someone and just hug them as tight as I could. Just get 2 underhooks and just hug them as tight as I can. Not do anything, but make sure there's no space, similar to if you're on the ground. How can that be considered octagon time? Significant octagon time. I think if you're controlling someone on the ground, that's different than controlling someone up at a cage.
Okay, exactly. So if you're in, you got the mount and you're raining down strikes on him or you're attacking him, okay, that's considered octagon control time. But if you're pushing him against the cage just to stall, that shouldn't be considered octagon control time, because that's what really irritated me, because I thought that Cory Sandhagen, from where I was standing, I thought like he put in the better strikes. He had a much better game plan going in. I mean, hats off to TJ. He had a strong chin, but Cory knocked him down at one point as well, so they should have scored that knockdown. Has been pretty significant. The fact that he actually busted open his face, but then again, the cut said it came from camp that opened up twice over the 2 weeks. Okay, fair enough. But then again, Cory threw way more significant strikes than TJ, and then that second round was just unbelievable. Where Cory at one point did something I've never seen before, where he did a flying knee straight into a triangle, which I thought was very, very impressive. I thought the fight was going to be over right then and there. It was very back and forth at times. But the way I saw it was round 1 was pretty even, okay?
Maybe give it a TJ.
Maybe. Round 2 was definitely Cory. Round 3 was...
maybe TJ.
Maybe
four you have to give to Cory. That was the big one.
Exactly.
So one of the judges that scored it to TJ, the only reason why TJ won on their scorecard was because they did a 10-9 to TJ.
Yeah.
When really in that round 4, it should have been to Cory.
Yeah.
You can't say that TJ won that round. A lot of people are saying it was a robbery. When a fight's that close, like an Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, it's too difficult to say robbery. When it's like blatant, like some of the robberies, like if you're in another nation, you've got to worry about them taking away that victory from you. When it's very clear cut, it wasn't as clear cut with this. When it's such a close fight and you get a split decision win for TJ, it's okay. It's not a robbery, but
I feel like it could have been a draw.
I think it could have been a draw or Cory won.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was quite a robbery.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Exactly. It was razor thin, depending on where you stand. But it wasn't really. It wasn't like. It was. You're right. It wasn't a massive difference. However, welcome back, TJ. He spent over 2 years away from the octagon. Came back, and I'm pretty sure he had to piss in like every cup he could before he even took the fight.
They would have been testing him like absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and he came back and he did it pretty well, and he took out Cory Sandhagen. Cory is just getting one of those fighters who just got better and better and better. And one thing I was so impressed with was his ground game, because after he lost to Aljamain Sterling, he'd improved significantly. He was really I'm pretty sure that TJ said that he popped his knee at one point, and that because Cory actually sank in a heel hook, and then
said he tore his MCL.
Yeah.
Before the fight. So he wasn't able to do any sparring this camp.
Wow. There you go.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
And then his knee was probably pretty fucked since the first or second round.
Yeah.
Then he had the massive cut, brutal, excuse me, in his eyebrow, which is a terrible place for you to get a cut, especially even not off to the side, but directly in the middle of your eyebrow, close to your nose. That's where it's just going to sting. It's going to cloud your vision. And Cory was taking advantage of that. You know, he was making sure that he was continuing to fire off that jab on that side and making sure if it was a blind spot, why not take advantage of it? So, look, I think it was a really, really good display for the bantamweight division. Like, there's a lot of amazing talent in the bantamweight division now. I know there's a little bit of confusion with Pedion and Aljamain Sterling, who's the rightful champion, but you got to say these guys are both next level contenders. Like, when you crack that top 5, that's when it's just an elevation in skill, to be honest. There was a few weird call-outs, actually. I saw Cody Garbrandt. He says he wants to run it back with TJ. I don't see that being a good move. I don't think many people would entice a trilogy when you've lost 2-0 pretty significantly. Mm-hmm. Cory, look, I think Cory should have got the nod. Not a robbery, but, you know, he obviously made it really clear he can handle with the big boys. Like, TJ is considered probably one of the top 3 bantamweight champions out there, right? Ex-bantamweight champions.
Yeah.
If Cory can hang with TJ and, in my opinion, beat him, he still deserves, you know, a crack at that title. So Sean Shelby, apparently he pinky promised with Cory Sandhagen right after the fight. He said, I promise you, you're still one fight away from a title fight.
Yeah.
So whoever he fights next, I feel bad for them.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Because right now, just as before we started recording the podcast, Aljamain Sterling and Purion are set to fight around December. Mm-hmm. They're targeted to fight. So he beat Cory Sandhagen. Okay. So how about Rob Font? A man who's fresh. He's definitely on the street. He's got mad hands. You know, he's done exceptionally well lately, and he's number 3 in the rankings. And since TJ Dillashaw has called out, he said he believes he should fight for the championship or a top 5. And in the top 5, you also got Jose Aldo. But then again, 5th is Cody Garbrandt, but I don't really want to see Cody fight. I don't really want to see Cody and TJ fight for the 3rd time as of now, considering that Cody's just come off a loss. So that's why I believe that Rob Font is the correct fight for him.
I think maybe a TJ Dillashaw versus Rob Font and a Cory Sandhagen versus a Jose Aldo. Because for him to fight an ex-featherweight champion after, in my opinion, beating an ex-bantamweight champion, that's a legacy shit. That's cool to see. So I think Sandhagen versus Jose Aldo would be really good, and then Dillashaw against Rob Font, that'd be really good because they're both really well rounded. I mean, and Rob's boxing is very sharp, and I'd like to see how that goes with TJ's really cool movement with his Muay Thai. You know, I'd really like to see that matchup and see if he's beaten Cory Sandhagen, which is a huge feather in his cap, coming 2 years off, like a massive layoff. Like 2 years is huge. Mm-hmm. So much pressure. Everyone was saying, oh, you look skinny, you look different without being on EPO. Now he's proven that, you know, he's well-rounded. Like, he's got chin, he's got cardio, you know, he's got conditioning. He's well-rounded in terms of wrestling and stand-up. So I'd like to see TJ have another fight before he starts doing any title fight stuff.
I mean, 2 years come back, I think you get to fight for the title straight away when all those fighters have been active in between. Absolutely not.
The Aljamain Sterling thing makes it a bit funny.
Yeah.
You have to run it with PD on.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
And although Aljo, he said, if Cory wins, I don't think Cory's done enough to fight me. And then if TJ wins, TJ's done enough and he can fight me next. So he was thinking that TJ could skip the queue and fight him instead of PD on, which is a weird move, to be honest. It might even just be to rile up and to troll people. But I think Aljamain's still got to fight PD on. So look, if they're still going to have that fight, and we don't even know when, since he's had neck surgery, and he's got to wait till at least, I think, October, November.
It's been set for roughly around December.
Around December. Look, if you've got to wait that long, he's got to still fight again.
Yeah.
Especially having two years off. I know he's got his clean juice and all that. And he's got his businesses and things like that to make a bit of money, because apparently he makes more money through his clean juice stuff than actually fighting in the cage, which is significant in the fact that maybe he won't even be that keen to stay active and fight again this year. Maybe he might have to fight next year. But to me, I think Sandhagen, like you said, should probably fight Rob Font. That's a cool matchup since Rob just beat Cody Garbrandt, and I'd like to see if Rob can fight two ex-bantamweight champions. You know, that's fucking cool. That'd be really cool to see. And then, I'd like to see Aljamain. Sorry, not. I'd like to see Jose Aldo against Sandhagen. That'd be sick. That'd be really cool.